Hello, this is High Templar, welcome back to my Total War Warhammer Mod Reviews. Today we'll be talking about the Wood Elves in the Radious mod. The Radious mod came back to life after a very long time. It was not available for some time, and now with the Wood Elves in the late December it came back to us, and we are very grateful to the Radious. It is one of the most popular mods in Total War series, and it is the most popular total conversion of the Total War. It is with us for quite some time, and it is with us in the Total War Warhammer. Now, because we have Wood Elves on a plate for quite some time, I will go and talk about the Wood Elves. I already did a general campaign video and what Radious mod is in general, and I also made the reviews for Chaos and Vampire Counts. Now, let's have a look how the Wood Elves changed the game. So, Radious is known for numerous units, for total rebalancing of the stats, and for elite units. For the Lords, it is largely unchanged, as you can see. Lords still have similar stats, or the same actually. I wasn't actually comparing them one to one, but it seems that they are very similar, although the armor on some of those units seem to be a bit different, but they are still very much the same in the essence. They are very good at melee, they have the same skills, and they have bit low on health, except for example of Infantrymen and Durtu, who are quite the opposite. And the heroes are pretty much the same still, so we have all the Spellsingers, Branchright and the Waystalker having the same abilities. So there is pretty much nothing changed in this place of the roster. Let's have a look at the infantry needs, and from the get-go you can see that there is much changed here. Starting from the Eternal Guard being much more expensive, 600, there is 120 of them, not 100. They do have lots of health, because in Radious mod most of the units has lots of health. They keep the same bonus versus large and armor piercing abilities, but they do have slightly different stats to rebalance it to the Radius. Then we have Dryads. Dryads right now is a very basic unit, although it does have magical attack. It does have not much of the armor, average melee attack and defense, 120 of them. It is very similar actually to the Swordmen of the Empire, if you have a look at it. So, if you get Branchright and compare them to the Swordmen, you can see that their stats are pretty similar, slightly higher there, slightly lower there, but very similar. And they are much more expensive, so they seem to be getting worse of this. But we didn't came here for Dryads. Let's have a look at something. Eternal Guards with shields, quite obviously what you would expect. They have slightly less melee attack, a lot more defense, and yeah, pretty much the same stats. Then we have Eternal Wardens with shields. Who are the Eternal Wardens? It is an interesting unit, having a lot more power when it comes to the weapon strength, still getting all out armor piercing, but their stats are significantly higher. Although there is less of them in the unit, only 100, they have less health, they have slightly more armor, slightly less leadership, which is surprising because this is elite unit. More attack, less defense, more weapon strength as I mentioned, and more charge bonus. They do also have charge defense versus all, which is very important if you are playing Wood Elves, because most of the time you will be getting charge from the enemy, and getting charge defense against all is quite important. You would normally only get charge defense versus large force. We also have a variant without shields, and this one is very different because those guys are sporting 2 weapons, and they do have a bonus versus infantry of 8. As you can see, They have significantly less melee defense but more attack, more weapon strength and more charge bonus. So those guys are like mini war dancers, although they do have significantly more armor. Then we have branch nymphs, which are upgraded version of the dryads. There is less of them in numbers, they have slightly less health, but as you can see they have significantly better stats, and they also have poison attack, and they also have +8 bonus versus infantry. So you should always pick those guys. They are quite amazing. And they do have more armor also, so they are not as squishy. Then we have war dancers, who are, well, as they should be. They have high speed, high melee attack, high stats in general. They do have additional bonus versus infantry, but only by 5. They have low armor, and they still have physical resistance, immune to psychology, and shadow coil. So, what we know and love. Then we have war dancers, Azrai spears. Those are pretty much the same as we remember, with the insane bonus versus launch of 25 and pretty much the similar stats as with normal war dancers, although mind you, those guys have significantly less melee defense when compared to the previous ones. So yeah, that's something to remember. Then we have Wildwood Rangers, who do have armor piercing of 25, bonus versus launch of 10, and quite insane stats, but armor only of 42. So that is something to remember also. And again, immune to psychology, quite obviously, and the Guardians of the Wildwood. So those units, and the war dancers, as in previous one, do have physical resistance. Then we have Wildwood Rangers with shields, which is quite interesting one actually. They do have a lot less armor piercing and bonus versus launch of 12, and it's a bit weird. They have a lot more defense, but still their shields are only bronze, and they do have the same high stats, 100 men inside, and decent health. Now let's go to the elite units, I mean even more elite, as we know Radious mod 4, and these are Blade Singers with Azrai spears, and the only one I can compare them is to the War Dancers with Azrai spears. They do have pretty much the same stats, although they do not have that much armor piercing, only 9. They have less bonus versus launch of 16, but they do have poison, and their stats are quite impressive, as you can see, 43 and 48 with 42 weapon strength. They do have the same speed, and they do have more armor, and they have lots of health. So this is quite interesting. They still have physical resistance, so this is very, very sturdy unit, and they do keep the shadow coil. Then we have normal Blade Singers, and normal Blade Singers should be compared to the normal War Dancers, and as you can see, the same speed, same more armor, the same high health, the same very high weapon strength, and they do have bonus versus infantry of 10, so more than the War Dancers themselves. And high charge bonus, this is a very nice, very fast elite unit that should be in your campaign roster, and quite possibly also in your multiplayer let's plays if you are playing Radious, and many people do. Wildwood Wardens is another unit that is elite unit. Those guys sporting 2 two-handed weapons, but they do have bonus versus infantry of 8. As you can see, their armor piercing is only 23, but it is half of their damage, and they do have Guardians of the Wildwood and expert charge defense, which is not mentioned here, but it is here, so something to remember. And this is against all foes, so again, very, very nice. Insanely high speeds, high stats, and high hit points. Then we have Guardian of Atlant. sorry for my pronunciation, another anti-infantry unit, anti-large unit, with the anti-large of 16, the armor piercing of 13, and very, very high stats. Decent shield, decent armor, decent, very high hit points. But we know and expect that from those. And also physical resistance, only 10%, but still physical resistance, right? Compared to the wall dancers. And finally, we have the same version of Guardians of Athlewind, with glaives. And those guys have very strong armor piercing. They do not have bonus versus large. They do have insanely high stats. Another fine elite unit. When it comes to the range, we know 2 more units, but the units are rebuilt greatly. You can see that the Glade Guards cost a lot more. There is a very little difference between Starfire Shafts Normals and Hagbane Tips. And in my opinion, you should go with Hagbane Tips, because they have high range and poison damage, and there is very small difference in the price. Starfire Shafts on the other hand also have higher range, which is, surprising. They do have decent armor piercing of 18, and pretty much the same. The number of the units is 90, up from the 80 in the non-modded version. This means those guys will be slightly less effective compared to the melee units, because they cost a lot more, and they do have smaller, percentage-wise, smaller increase in numbers than the infantry units. So you might want to take less of them. Then we have Deepwood Scouts, 70. So that makes them pretty nice. Also, if you have a look at their stats, they do have smaller range, and they do have smaller, actually, melee attack and defense. But what is very nice, they have more ammo and they have more damage per missile by 3. And the stars and the Swift Shiver Shards are even more amazing. I mean, if you compare that, there is 20 more less men, but the missile damage is crazy. 42 missile damage, with the range only of 140, but that's only for armor piercing. Those guys are actually shooting 2 arrows at the same time. So that is quite surprising. That's why they are doing so much damage. So keep an eye on those guys. They might be very useful. Then you have Way Watchers, which are, what you would expect. They are just amazing in everything. They have armor piercing missile damage. And we do have 15, and we do have Starfire Shafts version with even more armor piercing damage of 20. And in general, those guys are, slightly more, although they do have less ammo. They do have pretty amazing range and everything that the Way Watcher are known for. Then we have another unit with the Guardians of Athlewind, and if you compare them to the Way Watchers, they are just better in everything. They have pretty decent melee stats at this point, although Way Watchers do have decent stats to begin with, and they have lots of ammo, they have lots of missile damage. And finally we have Way Watcher Sentinels, who are better and also have poison, with the highest range in game, and what's not to like? And they do have decent armor of 42, mind you. Those guys have 46. Then let's go to the Cav. The Wild Riders are slightly rebuilt from what we know, but they are still shock Cav with decent health but low armor, high leadership and high speed. Then we have version with shields, which is surprising. They have a lot more defense, and they do have bonus versus large of 10. So something to remember. And silver shields. Silver shields for Cav is not common really. Then we have White Hunters of Kuronos. And those guys they are shielded, they are armor piercing, they are significantly higher, they have very nice charge bonus, they have very nice stats in general. It is a very good unit, except for it's not anti-large, but it is armor piercing. So if you hit a heavy infantry unit with them, they will go down pretty fast. It's your heavy shock cav with a very nice charge bonus. And mind you, they have physical resistance of 20%. They do not, however, have fear. And they do not have frenzy, which those two guys had. So, something to keep in mind for the extra price. Then we have Glade Knights. Glade Knights have significantly higher armor, all the way up to 66. They have more health, more leadership, more melee attack, more weapon strength and charge bonus, but they do not have armor piercing or bonus versus large or bonus versus infantry, and I don't like this unit. For this price, there should be more than increase in stats, especially as this unit is both shielded and armor piercing and have magical attacks. So it's not even good against dwarves. I don't really get the Glade Knights. For those units, it's pretty much all the same. The Glade Riders, Hagbane Tips, Hawk Riders, System Torn, and Handmaidens of Ariel. Handmaidens of Ariel have armor piercing and thunder armor. Since their missile damage is 17 and armor piercing is 20, the thunder armor will increase your damage quite significantly. So keep in mind, those guns can shower you with the damage quite significantly, and they do have magical damage, and they do have the abilities that the Sisters of the Thorn are known for. If you are picking one of those units, I see really no reason why you should pick Sister of the Thorn. The poison is just not worth that much, the thunder armor is just better, right? And not as significant difference in price, but significant difference in stat, damage and everything else. So, like this one. And here, there is a lot of changes in the monsters unit. You can see that Great Eagle is not really on par with the rest of the Radius, especially for this price. The Treekin increased in price, there is still only 12 of them, and as you can see, they only have armor of 48, however they have significant weapon strength and melee defense, and they do have physical resistance, flame weakness, siege attacker, causes spear, and bonus and charge defense versus large. I do not believe this unit is as effective as in normal game, and I would not pick it. The three men are quite amazing. Quite obviously, they are, well, good at everything, very good tanking unit with physical resistance, causes fear and terror. And I see why. But we do have an upgrade, and we do have quite nice upgrade. So this unit causes 100 armor piercing damage and 400 weapon damage, non-armor piercing, but this unit, for only 100 more, causes 390 armor piercing damage and additional bonus versus infantry of 30. So always pick Dirty Grove. Those guys are quite amazing, and better stats and, better everything really. And that's pretty much for the roster. Let's have a quick look at the battle replay I've done. And I will be playing against Britannia on the Kingsglade. You've seen this map in my campaign. I've been using that, and Britannia is one of the enemies that we would see the Wood Elves fighting against. Although they do have kind of complicated relationships. And we will see King Llewellyn Leoncaire leading the enemy by himself. And yeah, let's have a look. So for my build, I do have the Glade Lord, who is, as you can see in the Vanguard Hill, he will be making life of those of King Llewellyn hard. And actually I stopped after I believe I thrown the Spear of Kuronos already, because you can see that he's wounded. I have a hidden Wild Hunters of Kuronos in this forest, and this is the bulk of my force. And I just wanted to show you the elite units, the new units, so you can see the branch nymphs in the center. There is a Waystalker here. I should have been deploying him further into the battlefield, but I was a bit afraid of the Vanguard units. I'm not sure if the Radious mod is doing a good job of vanguarding them. We have Guardians of Atwin here with shields. Those guys are pretty amazing, fighting against large monsters. On both flanks, very elite units, and I see Blade Singers in the back to support the main line. 2 units of Glade Guards, Starfire Shafts, and single unit of Glade Guards, Hagbane Tips. I didn't really have more money to bring more elite range units, and at this point I kind of also wanted to win this one decisively. So let's have a look as those guys are approaching. I'm skirmishing with my lord, and I will be putting some arrows into the King Llewellyn, just, you know, normal arrows. That was the Spear of Kuronos from my Waystalker. And this skirmish will be going on for a little bit. We can easily watch it in the another Spear of Kuronos. That one was from my lord. We can see the build from Bretonia. They have Lady Horse Archers on this flank and Mounted Yeoman Archers on this flank. We have Knights Errants, Knights of the Realm, and Knights Errants here. For the Infantry Corps we have Spearmen at Arms, 2 units of them, 1 with shields. Then we have Men at Arms with swords and lots of chevrons. Questing Knights on foot. So yeah. And the Spearmen at Arms, another unit. We have Squires and we have Crossbow Brigands. And in the back there is Polearms, just lying there. So they brought a pretty typical Bretonian build. Lots of spears, lots of cav unit, some knights to support, some of them on foot. As you can see, I'm able to skirmish them pretty nicely and put some arrows into the King Llewellyn, who is already down half of his health, running away from this very nice unit. Those squires are actually very high, range of 170. That's quite amazing. My Wild Hunters of Kuronos all the way back there. Now we can see I'm pinning down this unit, decreasing its defenses against arrows. I do want to take it out. The Waystalker, another Spear of Kuronos. I do want to take down those guys as fast as possible. I don't want to be skirmished at. I don't have shields in my front line. But my nymphs are already being fired upon. And there is also this Mounted Yeoman firing at me. So yeah, this unit is done for. This unit is attacking my guardians, but those guys do have shields and they will be decent against them. This unit is, like I said, done for. That was a miscast. I didn't hit actually the King Llewellyn himself. Trying to fire some Starfires. He attacked my branch right, which is very odd choice. I'm going to the melee and we can see Those guys are trying to get around me with all those knights. I will be attacking them and I will be trying to get them. We also have already charged here. Here we have Knights Errants fighting against those elite guardians, and they will be dying to those guardians pretty decisively. And the King Luen is already dead, fighting the Branch Right and my Glade Lord. And my Glade Lord and the Branch Right will be taking on the Knights of the Realms, who tried to get into my archers, but due to the wood, they weren't able to get a good charge. At the same time, I've made a charge on those mounted yeomen. Those guys are fast, but I do have a decent speed on this unit also, and will be seeing them off the battlefield and then doing some back charges if the time allows, really. We are making sure that those guys will be running away, and my Way Stalker is firing in the backs of those Knights Errants. In the center, my Branch Right is supporting those units, healing them with the Earthblood and casting some Awakening of the Wood into the center of the Infantry blob, which is an armored Infantry blob, so those guys will do pretty badly. The Knights Errants fighting those Guardians are going down pretty fast, and my Cavalry going after the Crossbow Brigands and destroying them, absolutely destroying them. We do not expect for this unit to be alive for very long. And another hit on those squires, those guys already running away, but quite frankly the battle is already over, as we can see. Those Awakening of the Woods and the support of the Branch Right and the healing destroyed those units. They weren't able to keep with the branch nymphs, with the poison. And on this side we are about to finish the Knights of the Realm, who are still fighting strong against the Guardians and the Lord and the Stalker, who is firing at them. They have very little chance. Another cast, and we'll be pinning those units just in case they want to run away. And the Hackbane tips firing into those Knights of the Realm, Knights Errants and Knights of the Realm, really. My Lord is in the fire bed. At this point, I noticed that I am firing wrong unit at the wrong unit, because Hackbane tips should be firing men at arms. But at this point in the battle, it's hardly a matter of anything. Now, we do have the end stats, and as you can see, that was decisive victory, and I lost only 150 units out of the 800 deployed. Those guys, the King Luen did some kills, the Knights of the Realm that got in the back of my unit did some kills, the Questing Knights, the rest of the units didn't really do anything. The Squires had some luck, and the Crossbow Brigands had some luck firing at my men, but apart from that, that was not much. My units, on the other hand, the Glade Guards did amazing job as always, doing 90 damage. The Guardians did decent job at fighting off those mounted units, and those were mounted units that costed pretty much the same as they did, because there was 3 of them. Then we have Blade Singers, who didn't do that well, and I will have to see if I've misused them, but the Branch Nymphs did amazingly well, and all my heroes did very well indeed. And this is it. This is all for the review. I hope you like it. If you did, press like, comment if you will, and see my other videos. In Total War Warhammer, I do mod reviews, I do mechanics videos, and I do DLC analysis and speculation videos. But I also do Let's Plays in Total War series and other games. Thank you for watching, and see you later.